Everyone, and welcome back to NCOIL One-on-One. We're switching things up here on One-on-One. In addition to legislators, we will also be featuring NCOIL corporate and institutional partners members to hear their perspective and experience with NCOIL. To kick things off, with us here today is Charise Richard, Senior Director of State Policy for PhRMA. Charise, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me. Excited to be here.
So let's hop right in. Can you give us a little background on how you first came to work in state public policy?
Sure. So I've always been interested in the impact of state governments and offices, and actually started out as an intern in congressional district my senior year of undergrad. And then I sort of wandered into the private sector, and then I moved to the DMV area and went and got my master's at GW. And that's where I was really able to dive into state government affairs more deeply. And then from there, I was able to apply some of my past work experiences to an employer health policy role and have been in this healthcare space sort of ever since.
That's great. So that led you to PhRMA. Can you give us some background on PhRMA and what you do in your current role?
Sure. Again, once you're sort of in the insurance space, you just sort of get sucked in, and that's what happened. Is I'd been sort of running in similar circles to my PhRMA colleagues, and then sort of made the switch from the employer policy side to the manufacturer side. And so with that, I'm a senior director of state policy, and I cover the Mid-Atlantic plus Michigan and Wisconsin, as well as NCOIL and NEIC engagements for PhRMA. So this means I work with industry relevant bill language and regulations each day. So it's a ton of reading.
Sure, that keeps you busy.
Certainly does. And the eye drops flowing.
And so how did that lead you to come to cover NCOIL? How did you first hear about it?
I say this, with love. I have been doing NCOIL pretty much my entire government affairs career. And sort of once you have that experience, it becomes fairly invaluable, as many institutions recognize its importance, but aren't quite sure how to engage. And so when I joined PhRMA just a little over 2 years ago, I had actually done, I think, one of my interviews while I was attending an NCOIL event in the hotel, and it sort of stuck in their minds. In the most recent years, we've really stepped up our engagement and our involvement with NCOIL, to sort of highlight our desire to be good partners and have a seat at the table to contribute to the conversation.
That's great. Can you give us some perspective as to PhRMA's top policy priorities generally, and then as it relates to NCOIL's corner of the world?
Sure, excellent question. So we're working to drive patient-centered progress in innovation, affordability, and access to life-saving prescription medicines. The healthcare system is not working for patients and needs to change. No one should struggle to afford their medicines. And unfortunately, some patients do continue to bear more of that medicine cost at the pharmacy counter. So as it relates to NCOIL and what can be done, this could be model legislation on rebate pass-through to patients, could be protecting patient cost assistance, and then also PBM transparency initiatives.
Sounds like we got a lot to work on, so it'll
I've got
keep
lots
us
of
busy at
ideas.
meetings. So, how has your experience, your personally and PhRMA's experience been like as a NCOIL participant over the years?
So I would describe it as productive as well as educational. I appreciate the thoughtfulness that's put into the agenda building for each meeting. I like that it's evolved over time to address, the current needs of either the sides of the group or to really push further engagement and sort of diversify the opportunities there. I think that's great.
That's great. And then how would you describe your overall experience as a CIP member, in addition to just being a general participant?
Well, everyone's always kind, so that's nice. It's a respectful, stakeholder engagement place, and I would say that having a seat at the table, as I mentioned before, has been essential in our engagement strategies. And we do want to contribute to the conversation productively, and I believe this membership structure, specifically at NCOIL, not only allows that, but I believe really encourages that.
That's great. And so you mentioned that you've been around NCOIL your entire career. How do you think, do you have any advice for new attendees kind of just coming into the space, just starting to attend meetings, really hit the ground running?
Yes, so I would attend the meetings in person. I know post-COVID, there's been more virtual or hybrid options throughout conferences. I know NCOIL has that opportunity sometimes as well, but it's super important that you attend. And when you do, you go to the breakfasts, you go to the receptions, you go to the lunches, in addition to the meetings themselves. This is an opportunity, to sort of push yourself, to introduce yourself to members and also just other participants as well. And you get to know more people. And if you keep up the consistency and sort of push outside, if maybe, talking to strangers isn't your forte, especially in the conference setting, there's plenty of space that NCOIL has developed for you to take a stab at it. So I'd just say attend all of the networking opportunities.
That's great. Definitely a very solid advice. So hopefully people take you up on that. How would you describe your participation at NCOIL or in pharmas in general with other organizations such as the NAIC, CSG, NCSL, et cetera?
Not that it's a competition. But NCOIL offers more opportunity for active engagement for organizations like ours and other corporate partners or stakeholders, like the roundtable discussions and kickoff meetings that NCOIL provides. Where in comparison to places like NEIC, they're a little bit more geared toward regulator to regulator interactions or discussions. So you're a little bit more of a spectator there, which is certainly beneficial. But I would say the NCOIL sets apart the opportunity for us industry stakeholders to have a more active participation.
That's great. So, as you know, at NCOIL, we aim to bring state legislators together from around the country, put them in the same room to discuss insurance public policy and the issues that we're facing in their respective states and develop model legislation based on that. Have you seen NCOIL's efforts in these areas impact how legislation is created in state legislatures? Because I know you said you cover states as well.
Yes, so I actually have, and very recently, in fact, I've seen NCOIL's recent resolution protecting HSAs referenced in legislative discussions. I've also seen NCOIL mentioned in reports by state insurance departments. I know it's mentioned in a Vermont report. So the organization has a very credible and strong reputation in the state legislatures, and certainly in any kind of recommendations or dialogue that they have around the topic.
That's great to hear. So NCOIL meetings have kind of changed in size. For example, in 2017, our spring meeting had 230 participants, and we're well over 300 going into our spring meeting in 2023. Have you found it more challenging to make real relationships? How do you kind of address dealing with the increasing size of the meetings?
So I have seen the attendance number grow, and that does make some of the more like targeted conversations or opportunities harder to come by as people's schedules, sort of fill up rather quickly. But that being said, I've made an effort to diversify my participation, which again kind of goes back to my advice to new attendees, which is taking advantage of those breakfasts and those lunch receptions. And we've also recently taken up the sponsoring opportunity for some of the outings and activities to try and again sort of share attention, but also get some solid quality time as well.
It's great. We're definitely looking forward to the axe throwing that you're
Yeah.
going to be sponsoring in Nashville. Make sure everybody signs those waivers beforehand. But
I'm pretty good, at least at the plastic one. So I don't know how that'll translate to the real thing, but fingers crossed I beat at least one person.
there you go. So naturally, we've discussed some of the positive things about NCOIL, but of course, there's always things we can do differently. Is there any way you'd like to see the organization change in the coming years?
Yeah, so I appreciate the question. I would say that continuing to make an effort to ensure a fair and balanced opportunity for engagement and presentation are upheld would be, sort of my top of mind
Great.
request.
So before we let you go, we have a quick lightning round of questions. Let people know you a little more personally. These are going to be pretty hard hitting, so just hop right in. Can you tell us your favorite all-time movie?
All right, so I would say Tombstone, which is something that I watch with my dad whenever I go and visit.
I'll add that to my list. Favorite all-time actor?
Reese Witherspoon. This is a tough one, but I love her. I just find myself being able to watch her in pretty much anything.
Favorite all-time food?
Well, I just love food. Italian, and then more specifically, gnocchi.
I would have to agree with you on that. Favorite book or author?
So right now it'd be Brandon Sanderson or Jim Butcher. It's
Nice.
sort of that
Uh,
fantasy fiction.
Song or musical artist?
Another by Adam Doliak, which was my wedding song.
There you go. Okay, that would make some sense then. Favorite all-time TV show?
Oh, this one's easy. Ted Lasso.
Nice. And last one, three dinner party guests, living or dead.
I would say Robin Williams, Chris Stapleton, and Jim Butcher. I just really love to pick their creative brains.
All fantastic choices. Well, this wraps up this month's NCOIL one-on-one interview with Charise Richards. Charise, thank you so much for taking the time.
Awesome. Thank you for having me.
Thank you.